Alright, this is we're gonna do an in-depth walk around of the truck today. This is my 2014 Ram 1500. I have the 5.7 liter Hemi with the 8-speed automatic, and done quite a bit to it, so it's probably gonna be a lot in here, and we'll see how it goes. So first off, I got a 35 12.5 17 treadwright tires. If you guys haven't heard of treadwright tires, they are recycled tires, so this is basically a retread. What's unique about the treadwright is they take the retread, they skin the tire from the bead all the way around the back to the other side. So from bead to bead, it's all new rubber over a old carcass. So some of the advantages you get to that is it's already been broken in. It's a little bit softer, so it's going to be a little more pliable, and it's going to handle the rocks really well. This is my second set. I do tend to wear them out a little bit fast. It is a full-size truck. It does pull on the tires quite a bit and wears them down, but for the price, I think they're great. So going from there, I just recently put a 6-inch Bds Lift Kit on here. So with that 6-inch lift, you have a drop bracket here that brings it down, and with BDS, the unique thing about them is the front drop bracket is 4.5 inches down, where most manufacturers drop it down 6 inches. So bringing it down to 4 inches, it gives you a little more ground clearance underneath, and it's basically like a 4-inch drop bracket kit with a leveling kit added to it to achieve the 6 inches of lift. So I don't know if you can see over in here, I have the tubular upper A-arms with the uniballs. So this helps you achieve a little more articulation. So right now I have more downward articulation than I do upwards. So we'll have to try to fix that at another time. But these tubular A-arms, these were just cheapy ones I got off Amazon. They were actually shorter than the stock A-arms as far as they were closer in. I had another video where I cut them here and extended them 3/4 of an inch to bring it about 1/4 inch further out than stock. So being that I had to do that, that was the only way I can get the truck aligned properly. Right now I have the Fox 2.0 coilover shocks. They are just on the drop bracket system that comes with the kit. So these are just a basic Fox shock 2.0s. I just had to readjust the springs so that it sat properly. So going around from there. Now, one of the drawbacks to the truck as far as ground clearance goes is all along here you can see I have quite a bit of rock damage. So future plan for this is I want to cut this out. A lot of the Jeep guys do that. They'll cut it out under here, and I want to weld a 2x6 tubular steel along this run here and make a really good rock rail. As well, nobody really has any heavy duty skid plates, so I did have to make my own. Later on I'll see if I can get a better shot of the skid plate. Mostly it just covers the transfer case. And you can see the L angle that runs the length of the frame, as well as the skid plate that I added here to protect the transfer case. So you can see it just comes all the way up, over, and so far I haven't hit anything on it with the new lift. It's been really nice. The clearance under here is very beneficial. And here's another look at the front end, so you can kind of get a better look at the lift kit and the drop brackets here. And it lowers the whole front diff as well. So moving to the rear suspension here, what I like about the BDS lift kit is it's not a drop bracket system. It doesn't lower the control arms here. It doesn't drop them down. They just relocate the upper arm at the axle so that you can achieve more ground clearance through here, and that did prove quite beneficial. One drawback is at this point my drive shaft sits a little bit lower across here, so I did hit it on a few rocks and it's a little scratched up and dented a little, so we're gonna have to see about fixing that eventually. So right now just running the BDS Nitro Series shocks. So far they seem to be doing pretty well. All of this in the future will be upgraded. Also, what's nice about the BDS and Zone are the only two kits that offer a 5-inch lift in the rear end. Otherwise, everybody does a 3-inch lift, which if you want it to be completely level, that's great. 3 inches will do that in the back. But if you're going to be doing a lot of overlanding or camping, adventures and stuff like that, you're really going to want to have the 5-inch lift in the back, so that when you're all loaded up, it'll then sit level. And then when you're unloaded and you're doing the more difficult trails, you're going to have just that much more ground clearance, because the biggest disadvantage with the full-size truck is your breakover angle on the center of the truck. From there, as you can see, the rear bumper has been modified. This is one I made myself. Where the sheet metal came down here, I cut it off straight across here and just built the bumper coming straight around. Too often was I crushing the bumper and the exhaust was flattened. So just kind of did away with all of that, made my own steel bumper here, and now with the lift and the extra clearance I get from the bumper, it works out so much better. Last time we were out, I only hit the bumper once, surprisingly enough. So coming back around to the back, so you can see some of the drop brackets where the BDS relocates the panhard bar, and you can see it's the full length springs, so there's no blocks or anything in there. So I have upgraded to a plate steel rear diff cover, and I also have a Nitro Gears lunchbox locker, and surprisingly enough, that lunchbox locker has been working out very well. I've had it for a little over a year now, and it's handled everything I could throw at it. Unfortunately, there's some drawbacks. Dodge, when they started making the 4th gen Rams, they decided to use not the Chrysler 9 1/4 rear end, but they used the Chrysler, the 9 1/4 ZF rear end. And the problem is with that, this is the no slip rear end diff case. So the only thing that I can see that they changed is the holes where the ring gear mounts onto here. The holes are placed differently. They're at a different boring space, and because of that, nobody makes anything for this rear end. So if you want to lock it, the Nitro Gears is the only person right now that I know of that has a locker for it, and that's going to be the lunchbox locker. And because I had the no slip rear end, I had to remove this completely. I had to buy the open rear diff and put the lunchbox locker in the open rear diff. And the other drawback to this, the no slip rear end, the way it works to push the gears out onto the clutch plates, it rides them out and then it pushes on the outside of the teeth, and they're very prone to breaking. And I've seen a couple of trucks driving around. So on the diff case here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but there's these little triangular dents rolling all the way through here on the diff cover. If you ever see that on your truck, go ahead, bring it back to the dealership, because you actually have a broken spider gear. The tooth breaks off, and then it gets caught between the diff cover and the housing, and it will just chew it up, and then it puts all that, the teeth and all the extra metal go and sit up on top of the pinion gear, which over time will wear the pinion gear out, because you're getting all the metal shavings in there, and it's not good. It's very poor design. So no slippery rear end, and these trucks are horrible. And unfortunately, there's nothing that I know of yet to do to fix it. So that's the rear end, and then you can probably see from here the exhaust. I had the factory dual exhaust, and that was coming out here, and it stuck down a couple inches lower below the my bumper that I built. So to alleviate that, I just removed all the exhaust out of here, and it's up just right up there by the end of the bed of the truck, and just it's a turn down exhaust. I also removed the rear sway bar, so I don't do much of any towing, so I don't have the rear sway bar on here. I'm never going to put it back on. There's no need for it. Alright, moving on from there, you can come around the side here. So along with the 6-inch Bds lift, I did also add a 1.5-inch body lift. So you can see it's just this little gap here. You can see the puck sitting right in here. So just simple 1.5-inch lift. I did that when I still had just the leveling kit on here, just to get some extra clearance for the tires, because they were grabbing onto the sheet metal. And with the 1.5-inch, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It's not torquing on any of the suspension components or steering components up front. Nothing's super stretched out as far as wires or anything. So I think it worked out really well, and makes it a little easier to get in here, and you can clean up on top of the frame rails. At some point I'm going to extend the shocks up further, so that'll probably alleviate me from having to cut into the bed. But we'll see what shocks we get for that. Going from there, the bed bar that I built back here, I just put some L angle in the bed, just cut it to fit all the way around. Just cut some tubes here and welded them on, and just makes a nice little added addition. This is not for safety, it's not a roll bar. This isn't going to protect you much at all if the truck were to roll over, which I don't plan on doing. So going from there, we have quite a bit of other stuff done to it. Coming around to the front, oh, I guess we have the light bar up top. It's completely useless, but I like the look of it, so that's really what I was going for. I got the cover for it. It makes horrible noise without the cover on it, so putting the cover on it alleviated that noise, and I still get the look that I want. Otherwise, when you're off-road at night and you turn this on, you can't see anything. The reflection off the hood of the truck and on the dust on the windshield, it all gets illuminated, and visibility is significantly worse than without it on. But it's up there. I like how it looks, so it's gonna stay. Coming around to the front bumper, I used to have a big bull bar that stuck out the front here, so I cut all that off to try to get a better approach angle. And you'll see in the Fins and Things video, and also the video of Hell's Revenge, my limiting factor right now for my approach angle is this receiver. So at some point, I think we're gonna try cutting into the steel here and recessing the receiver further back, so that we can get even better approach angle. So I mean, all this, a friend and I, we built it in the shop, and it's the only thing I could find. I couldn't find anything that had a really good approach angle, and some of the Baja front ends that they do have pretty good approach angle, but they are very expensive. So I found it much easier just to make my own. I can make it the way I wanted it with the receiver, and it's extremely strong. And aside from that, the only other issue I've had so far is even with the high clearance Bds lift, right here is the lowest point, and I do still smash these parts on the rocks. This one's bent in a little bit. So far it hasn't had any issues, as far as the suspension articulating at all, but it's worked out pretty well. The front anti-sway bar, I have it on right now because we're not four-wheeling, but whenever I do go off-road, I just remove the whole sway bar. It's 6 bolts, and you just pop it out and throw it in the bed of the truck, and then you don't have to worry about it. And then you have full articulation, nothing getting in the way. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I do have on the inside the truck here, I do not have any tuners on here yet. That will be a future plan. I do have an aftermarket air intake. I think I will at some point put the stock air intake back on. I call this my hot air intake. I'm 90% sure I lost horsepower by adding this to the truck. This is an aluminum tube feeding the air into the truck, and I put exhaust wrap on it because this aluminum tube would get extremely hot. You couldn't even touch it, because it would be so hot, and there's no way that hot aluminum tube is going to condense the air going into your intake. It's just going to make it hotter and going to reduce your horsepower, and it's not a very good idea, or not well thought out. So even with this on here, it still gets quite warm, so we'll probably be going back to the stock air intake and just do like a K&N filter or something. I think that'll work out much better. Aside from that, I've done some other small things. I've added heated windshield wipers, which is really nice here in Colorado, and when you're trying to go skiing and all the ice builds up on the windshield wipers, you just turn those on and then you don't have to worry about it. It all melts off. It's really convenient. Got some extra lights up front here. Some other damage that my brother did is he relocated my license plate here a little bit, so that will have to get drilled out and fixed. Might have to through bolt that one for the next time. So that's pretty much run around in my truck. Well, I guess I got a couple other things. I did the LED headlights, so the Opt 7 headlights, as well as the high beams I did as well. So they're both LED. The LED lights, they're okay. They do tend to, in the rain and the snow, they light up everything. So it makes it a little bit difficult to see sometimes. But aside from that, they do really well. We might try some different options in the future. As far as I can think, as of right now, that's about it. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you like the video, hit like and share. And I look forward to making more videos. So what I have here is a small incline here. So I'm going to give you guys an example of how well the locker in the back end works. So technically the way it works is that it's always locked. So you'll be able to see on this, I'm going to leave it in 2-wheel drive, and I'm going to roll right up here. We're going to see how it does.